The three-wide Racing League Grand National Division has traveled from coast to coast this year in the year of 2020. It's been a crazy year for everybody involved due to the chaotic nature of this year, but it's finally time to wrap things up in the Grand National Division for three-wide Racing League. In just a moment, we're going to bring the field down to qualify for their final race of the season. It's Nick and Delicato coming in just behind Matt Grunberg in the points. If Matt Grunberg finishes in third or better, he will clinch the championship trophy. And it'll be, Nick and Delicato winning the championship if Grunberg finishes fourth or worse, and Delicato wins, Finian. So tonight going to be a pretty wild way to end out the season.
Yeah, neither is it. And it even gets more interesting because that right there, what you were saying, is really only not accounting for the bonus points. And I think that's really where it's going to come down to, is getting those extra 2 bonus points. Again, these guys are so close together that any little change up, any little adjustment to the order is really going to affect the way this race plays out. I do definitely think it's going to be really between these two. Whoever wins the race, more or less, is going to take home the championship trophy. That's just how close it is, and especially too because in the event of a tiebreaker, it's going to go into Delicato's favor because he has 5 wins to Grunberg's 4, which is pretty surprising when you consider Grunberg how dominating he is, having less wins than Delicato.
Yeah, I got some issues over here on my end, Finian. Screen's frozen for me, so we're going to have to jump the break here for qualifying. We'll be right back in just a moment for the start of the final race of the season. Hang tight. All right, welcome back, folks. Sorry about that. iRacing being iRacing once again, but qualifying just about a minute and a half left here for the season finale. Nick and Delicato currently sitting on provisional pole here, but Matt Grunberg still sitting in the pits with a minute 15 left. Do you think he's going to do the same old strategy and start from the back as he has in the past?
I mean, he probably is, but again, considering how close it is, I really wouldn't risk starting in the back because they're just going to add in way too many variables. But obviously, I think he's been doing it all season. I think in that front, he's going to remain consistent and start from the back. A relatively small field, so that isn't too terribly big of an issue for the 54 Grunberg. As he sits in pit lane, yeah, he's not even going to come out, so he's definitely going to be starting from the back of the field, or at least midfield.
Roy Lindsay out on track right now in his qualifying effort as he comes out of turn number 4 across the line for him. His first time will be a 31.977. It will tie Drew Eisenman, but it'll put him in 12th. That is last of the people that have put down a lap so far. So he'll have to go around again. We'll see if he can pick up on the second lap here with 27 seconds left. A handful of cars, 5 of them to be exact, did not lay down times. And Lindsay looks like will be backing off on the back straightaway. So he'll start from the tail of the field as well. So a bit of a slow start here this evening. Again, if you want to watch live timing and scoring, you can do that on our website at simtvbroadcasting.com/timing. You can follow along in real time with your favorite drivers. So tonight, Finney, we've got the season finale of the 2020 Grand National Division. Let's kind of recap things as they've been the last couple months. This switch to this car was meant to let the drivers handle the vehicles a bit more and slide around a bit more. It's been a pretty big success from that angle.
Yeah, absolutely. These cars have been racing fantastically early. It's been in comparison to the Cup cars, which I really do have my gripes with. And I'm kind of glad a lot of the leagues that we worked with that typically run the Cup car have kind of experimented and run different things. 3-wides gone to the ARCA car now. For the Grand National Series, Fuel switched over to the Xfinity car. That also ran really well. And it's been nice to see, again, just putting the car back in the driver's hands, able to make passes, get good runs on one another, and constantly battle back and forth. We don't see much of a stalemate as we do with the modern Cup car.
So again, tonight we're finishing out at Atlanta Motor Speedway, which is also sort of a throwback to the way NASCAR used to be. 4 turns, 1.5 miles. The fastest lap around here was in the IRL back in 1998. How about an average speed of 224.1 miles an hour? That's a little bit faster than we're going to see drivers running tonight, but still really impressive how fast those cars went around here. So 133 laps this evening for our final race of the 2020 season. And let's roll through the starting lineup here in just a moment. On the front row, Finian, it's going to be the 51 of Nick Indelicato, and he'll be sharing the front row with the number 5 of Sam Close, who has just been getting better and better as the season's gone on.
Yeah, moving on back to number 2, 22 of Race Clark. Good qualifying effort from him. Going to be lining up in 3rd next to Richard Hines. Going to be lining up in 4th in the 87 machine.
Back in row number 5, it's going to be the 32 of Dustin Dewar and the 89 of Brent Miller. I think I said row number 5, meant row number 3, 5th and 6th back there as well.
Nathan Villa is going to be lining up 7th in the 48 machine. Brandon Kuser is going to be lining up in 8th in the 94.
In 9th place, Levi Zielinski on the inside of row number 5. And on the outside, Michael Goodmans, number 44.
Drew Eisman going to line up in the 77 in 11th place. Completing row 6 will be Corey Lindsay in 12th in the 00 machine.
In 13th, Matt Grunberg, the points leader coming into the night. If he finishes 3rd or better, it's his championship to lose. And on the outside in 14th place, didn't catch that name, but I think it's going to be, was that James Miller in the 09?
Indeed it was. And then moving on back, we find Jeffrey Fisher going to line up in 15th. Frank Sims going to line up in 1675. And rounding out our field, I shouldn't believe who's going to be rounding out our field, is 15 of Ethan Reasoner.
Ethan Reasoner back there is subbing in for Chad Frankenfield tonight, off into turns number 1 and 2. We had a quick look at the weather. Let's have one more look at it before we turn them loose. How about the track temp? 107 degrees Fahrenheit. That's pretty toasty, and that means that we could see drivers slipping and sliding around. 133 laps is about an hour and 10 minutes worth of green flag racing. So it's going to be a long night for these drivers to have to make their tires last. And the tires are going to be the big concern, Finian, wearing out those right fronts.
Yeah, we're going to see, we saw some really interesting strategy in the Outsiders Racing League at California. Just guys trying to figure out if it was more efficient to come down for an extra stop with some fresher rubber or stay out there and make one less stop. I feel like we're going to see something similar here, considering Atlanta is known for destroying tires.
Nick Indelicato has won a handful of races this season. If he wins and the 54 finishes 3rd or 4th or worse, I should say, Indelicato will be your champion. As the pace car is about to peel off, it's time to go racing for the final round of the season in the 2020 3-Wide Racing League Grand National Division. Green flag flies. We're racing at Atlanta Motor Speedway for the final time this year. Lap number 1 complete. Nick Indelicato out up front, pulling away from Sam Close. Right behind him, Race Clark deeper in the field. The 94 Kuser, who's on the outside of Zielinski as they rocket off into turn number 1 on the first lap.
And still side by side between them as Kuser, who's trying to fall in line. Looks like he's going to be able to slot himself right in behind Zielinski. And I feel like we're going to see this be a little bit easy earlier on, a few moves here and there. But again, these drivers trying to sort themselves out here in traffic. See Kuser go wide, almost into the wall as Goodman in the 44 dives beneath him.
Yeah, Michael Goodman started this race in 10th. He's gone absolutely nowhere just yet. Right behind him, though, that's the driver we're watching tonight, Matt Grunberg. He has had a habit of not qualifying this year, and in the past it has taken him some time to get to the front. Already gained 2 spots and looking for a 3rd here down on the inside of turn number 1. His mission, podium, 2nd, or 1st. That's what's going to win him the championship this evening.
Yeah, he needs to finish definitely up there. And the big thing, too, he needs to, I think at the very least, in his case, he needs to at least pick up a bonus point for leading a lap, which, again, is going to be pretty hard being stuck all the way back in 11th. Again, we do expect to see him in the front at some point in the night, but, again, he's got some work to do.
You see the 44 push up the racetrack. That brought up the 94 all the way up to the outside wall, and Grunberg stuck in behind. Has nowhere to go right now as the door gets slammed shut. Out up front, though, in Delicato, the championship runner-up coming into the night, leads the way by 0.4 of a second through turn number 2.
His win scenario, he needs to win the race pretty much and get as many bonus points as he can. That's what made him close the gap up so much last week at Rockingham, or 2 weeks ago I should say, at Rockingham. Absolutely dominated that track, lapped every single driver in the field. I don't quite think he's going to be able to do that tonight. He might be able to. I'd be surprised if he can't, considering how big this track is.
Well, you mentioned that he's going to have to win, pretty much, because the driver behind him is probably going to be a thorn in his side. If Matt Grunberg has a bad night, Delicato doesn't need to win the race, but I think that he's going to have to win it because Matt Grunberg very rarely has bad nights. For second place, getting busy behind Race Clark, Sam Close, Richard Hines, Dustin Dewar, 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
And Clark again with a really solid run after starting up in 3rd, is currently running in 2nd after getting past 5 as Sam Close, and he's again trying to just chase down the 51. Pretty much everyone on the field is going to be going for the win for the race. They don't really care about the championship picture other than really making sure not to wreck the championship drivers.
There's Levi Zielinski, the 97, goes to the bottom of the racetrack underneath the 32 of Dewar, going to push up on corner exit. Dewar has to lift, and Brent Miller's going to take a run on the back straightaway to the inside of the 32 and probably try to get in there, but Dewar says no thanks, goes to the inside. Ooh, that was real tight as they entered turn number 3. Miller pushes up the racetrack.
Already a bit of a block from the 32 to defend his position. Brent Miller trying to just move himself up the order.
Jeffrey Fisher, I think, is in a new paint scheme here tonight, Finney, and the silver colors on this car. Good-looking vehicle. Got the SimTV logo on the deck lid, which you always like to see.
Yeah, absolutely, and running pretty decent so far. Starting 15th, already up into 13th, so he's trying to move. Oh, as he catches the apron, is going to go.
Oh, behind him! Big crash behind him. Eisenman hard in the wall, and a big impact for the 75 of Frank Sims, and the caution is out as Sims slams the safer barrier on the inside of the racetrack. And big damage to the 75 as the yellow flag flies, and Eisenman's number 77 Ford also collected and shortened up from nose to tail.
Yeah, that was actually all indirectly caused by the 06 of Fisher getting loose.
Let's go back and have a look here. Exactly what happened to 77. Coming off into turn number 1, they were following the 06 of Fisher, and Fisher gets probably a little bit too low here on the apron, and is probably just going to hook right there, the left front tire on the apron, and starts to spin the car out. And right behind him, you see the 15, Ethan Reasoner checking up. The 77 tried to check up, and Corey Lindsay drilled the back of the 77, sent him up into the wall, and this is the big impact there. Boy, the 75 driving over the nose of Eisenman, and then down the racetrack, slams that inside wall. Pretty heavy impact there for Frank Sims. All happens very fast.
Yeah, absolutely. It's tough. It's easy to say, looking at hindsight, these guys could have checked up, but especially when you're right behind behind one another, so close, there's nothing much you can do.
We're right on board with Corey Lindsay as well, who drove into the back of the 77 and kind of created this mess. But everyone was checking up, and Corey can't really see very well right here. His vision's blocked, and everybody all of a sudden just starts checking up, and nothing Corey Lindsay could have done right there. It came to a stop. The field has come on down into pit lane, all except for 2 drivers. Those 2 drivers, James Miller and Michael Goodman, they have stayed on the racetrack. Your thoughts behind the strategy, and what do you think was the best call here?
Well, I don't know. I can imagine they won't really stay it out to get some bonus points. Other than that, I don't quite see why you would would not want to come down pit road again. We were talking about Atlanta. Choose up tires like no tomorrow. You're definitely going to want to come down and get fresh rubber as much as you can. And so I can imagine that we would see these guys drop down to pit road. We might see Miller stay out. He's got some decent pace in that 09 machine, but Goodman, not so much. We'll see what these guys do when they come by pit road.
So 9 laps in, we've had our first caution. Looks like Miller's going to peel off, and so will the 44. That will leave the lead back with Nick and Delicato and Race Clark. Drivers involved in that collision. The 75 of Frank Sims is back rolling. Obviously, some severe damage on that car. Eisenman has just left the pit box. Corey Lindsay should also be able to get that car repaired. So we should have all 17 drivers who started this race continuing to run in this race. As you see, there's the 44 going on by. So Indelicato so far has led 8 laps. Now, if he leads the most, that's another important point that he can pick up.
Yep. Exactly, and so what he's going for is essentially if he gets all the bonus points, so you get 3 bonus points for just straight up winning the race, and then you get a bonus point for leading lap, which he's obviously done, and then you get a bonus point for leading the most laps, and so that's the next thing that he really needs to make sure that he gets. Obviously, he's accomplishing that goal pretty well. Has led pretty much every single lap except the one there that was led by Miller. And so for Indelicato, if he gets all those bonus points, which he's on track to do, if Grunberg finishes in second and gets no bonus points, they would be tied, and Indelicato would will win the championship. So for Grunberg, if he finishes second and gets at least 1 bonus point from leading a lap, he will finish 1 point ahead of Indelicato, and he would take the championship.
Oh, it's going to be really, really tight. And the only thing the thing I worry about is Matt Grunberg is so fast that I'm not sure any of what Nick does tonight is going to matter. I don't think we can count that 54 finishing outside of the top 2 or 3. However, there is the possibility that something happens similar to what we saw at Rockingham. We went into that race thinking Matt Grunberg would absolutely own everybody. And he ran okay, but Nick Indelicato was the one that drove through basically the entire field and just put on a clinic out there. So I think that we can't really say definitively who's going to be the one to watch, but I can tell you both of them are incredibly good race car drivers, and it's going to come down to the lap probably right before the last one.
It really is going to come down to the wire between these two. I'm still amazed. I mean, we have to talk about it again, too. How close this championship is, which is amazing because we both rid off Indelicato as soon as he crashed at Richmond. Well, we both thought that he was not, there's almost no way that he could come back in the points, but got his head down, did an amazing job when it came to finishing in these last few races in the playoffs. His last, since Richmond, his finishes were first, third, and first. So he's been doing extremely well to make up that points deficit.
Off into turn number 3, coming to the restart. This time through, it'll be lap number 12 of 133. Still a very long way to go. And a possibility for long green flag runs. The start of one going before the slip up between the 06, 75, the 00, and the 77. Everybody's back out rolling with the exception of Sims and Corey Lindsay. As the pace car pulls off, Indelicato on the right side of your screen is the race leader. Green flag back in the air from Atlanta. Some scrambling midfield, but you see Matt Grunberg hugging the inside line, and he's gained a couple spots up to 7th now as they head down the back straightaway. There's the 5 of Sam Close to the inside of Zielinski, who's climbed forward pretty quickly in the 97, all the way back from 9th.
He got a little bit wide out on the line, trying to get a run off the corner. I can't imagine that High Lane is quite in just yet. I think definitely the bottom's the place to be where Sam Close is right now.
Hines on the outside. Behind them, Brent Miller, the 54 Grunberg we talked about, riding in line. Lots of cars close together, and the only thing that can really take the 54 out of this championship right now is a crash. And where the 54 is, I'm not sure I'm a big fan of it. He's right behind a group of cars that could very easily have things go wrong. I think he's trying to get by them before something could go wrong.
Yeah, I was saying if you want to get past, as soon as possible, get yourself out of the trouble. He worked through majority of the field pretty well in that first 10-lap run that we had. And you see him now looking just a little bit to the outside of Brent Miller heading to turn 1. Oh, and actually up ahead, Race Clark is just blown by our leader.
Went through to the top spot, moved Race Clark up to the lead. He won a few weeks ago at Talladega. And that was the first race that he had won in basically 2 years, I think.
Yeah.
And it's been a long time since Clark had found victory lane, and for him to get that a few weeks ago was really awesome. And he's got a chance to get another one. He's run really well tonight. Up, takes the lead, and will lead the first lap of the night for him.
He's running extremely well, again, qualifying all the way up in 3rd place and now leading this race. And Indelicato gave him the lead, so again, I think that 51, he's thinking bigger picture. He's going to just let the 22 up ahead and just lead some laps.
Oh, there's James Miller trying to peek to the outside of Klooster, who as he gets in the hole. Now they're going to run side by side down the back straight into turn number 3. And that 09 is coming with a vengeance on the outside, kind of straddling that middle seam. Big slide for the 94 on corner exit, but he keeps it controlled. But now the 09 putting the pressure on Matt Bloomberg.
These drivers' teammates too, so I find this quite interesting indeed as he's going to work to the outside. Grimmer not going to put up much of a fight. Yeah, Miller running that high lane, who I thought wasn't really in just yet. He looks like he's making some decent inroads.
On board now with Brett Miller in the 89. Started 6th, running 6th. And behind him, two drivers that can very easily win this race. And it seems like Miller's been kind of off the game the past couple races. Definitely capable of winning this race tonight with the pace that he's had so far. Chad Frankenfield was not a happy camper in that race, and was lined up to potentially win that race after performing really well there in the super late models, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, won that race by a big margin too. It wasn't even close. Off into turn 3 as they run door to door with both Millers side by side. Behind him, Nathan Velez on the outside, losing some ground to Jeffrey Fisher in the 06 and the 44 Michael Goodman.
And speaking of losing ground, Mikado has dropped now back to 3rd. And you see him running there. He's got Richard Hines in the 87 on the outside lane behind him, Sam close too. So I'm guessing this is the 51 trying to pace himself this run. Again, knowing how much the tire wear is on this track. Do you think this is the right call, or do you want to be out there leading the race?
Well, we saw in Rockingham, that track was pretty rough on equipment. And the 51 managed tires better than anybody else, and I think that's what he's doing right here. Do I think that Race Clark and Zielinski are going to lead this whole session? No. Do I think the 51 should be a little bit defensive? I think so. You don't want to lose so many positions that you have to use up tire to get back by them, but I'm okay saving some now. Because we're going to go 3 wide here, and it looked like they were going to try. The 87 had a good run, but had to back out, and the 54's got a big run. Now we're going to try 3 wide, maybe. Won't take the teammate that way, though. He'll sit in line.
He got a really good run again, and just saying nowhere to really go. Obviously could have made it 3-way, but I think that would have been worse for all of them. So back that was just going to follow the 09 on through, trying to get past Sam Close on the outside.
Up to 6th. Off into turn number 1, and the field's still pretty clustered tight together here, Finian. So and with them clustered that tight, there's always the possibility that things can go wrong very quickly. So again, this is one of those times when I would be a little bit careful about getting caught up in somebody else's mistake, especially since there's so much racing left. There's still a lot of cars left on the racetrack, too.
Yeah, so we still got at least an hour left of racing. We go green all the way, which we very much can. And I think really we're seeing these guys so clumped up together because everyone's taking it relatively easy here, just trying to feel out the car and not burn up their tires too quickly. Up ahead of them for 4th place. So Sam Coe's got a really good run now, looking to the inside of James Miller to make a pass.
Miller just went around the 5 a little bit ago. We'll see if the 5 can respond in any way.
And he's trying on that inside. Looks like he's starting to get just a little bit tight stuck down there.
And I think this is one of these races where we would expect the outside line to come in more and more as the race goes on. As you look right now, where the line of rubber is, really doesn't extend much past half the waypoint of this racetrack. I think by the end of the race, it'll be a lot different looking. For second, here comes Indelicato back by Levi Zielinski. And that tells me that Zielinski shot out of the cannon a little bit too fast on the initial restart and is burning up his tires, and through goes the 51.
Yeah, I can't imagine if Zielinski's burning up his tires. You see the lead that Race Clark has got. I can't imagine that he's going to be out there for much longer. I imagine has been pushing those tires pretty hard.
1 and 2 again. You see the 87 way up high. He's going backwards right now. And I don't think Levi Zielinski's quite done yet with the 51, trying again to get back by.
Okay, he tries to throw a lunge up the inside, can't quite get it done. James Miller going to offset just a little bit, trying to get a run, running the middle lane in the track, and he actually gets a pretty decent run off turn 4.
And you have to wonder if the 51 of Indelicato is looking in the mirror right now and maybe seeing that 54 car coming and maybe putting some pressure on him to run a little bit faster, because if you let the 54 get by you, then he controls the race and he will then dictate what you're doing. You don't want to do that. You want to have him chasing you.
Yeah, and again, and the way they run right now, if Grimberg finishes second without a lap led. That would be the championship in Delicato's favor if he wins this race. If Gruber leads a lap, that changes the story. Gruber would have to finish third otherwise for Delicato to win. So Nick needs to also make sure that Matt doesn't end up leading a lap, and that's going to be really hard to do.
Especially because if you get a late race caution or he stays out longer, pulls the overcut strategy on you, then he might lead a lap and you might not have a choice about it. So we are 25 laps into this 133 lap race. Some swapping going on behind them as well. There's a 15 of Reasoner, the 32 of Doomer, the 89 of Miller. And looking at the lap times, and Delicato did run quicker than the race leader last time by, so he is closing that gap.
And this is another, as you're looking at here, another good wad of cars here in the middle. Ethan Reasoner, he ran pretty well at Rockingham, trying to move his way up the order, and has done pretty well. Started all the way back in 17th, up into 9th.
Remember how he ended up in this car? It was a few weeks ago. You kind of alluded to it earlier in the night, but the contact between the 15 and the 09 at Watkins Glen, an intentional wreck from normal driver of this car, Chad Frankenfield, has led to him being excused for the rest of the season and having to put someone else in the car. That is Reasoner, and Reasoner's been doing a pretty good job in it.
Yeah, I'm kind of upset we haven't seen Reasoner around more this season, because I think he could have done very well.
But he moves up into 8th place after starting towards the tail. There's the 32 and 89 still fighting for a spot behind him. And here's the 48 and Nathan Velez. Hasn't been an amazing season for him. And ran pretty well in the trucks last year. Found himself in... Oh, no, the 15 gets turned on the back straightaway right in front of the 89. And up and over he goes, and the caution is out.
Oh, and Goodman gonna come flying and absolutely destroys the 15 as fender parts go flying.
Oh, man.
Across the back straightaway at Atlanta.
Caution is out for the second time today. Another big wreck. That's a big mess, and that was a weird one. Let's go back and see how this all started. The 15, I think, got hit in the rear. Was it by the 89 or the 32 that got into him here?
It was the 32 here. Be right on board with the 32. See from a different angle. You're going to see him get a great run down this back straightaway. He's going to just turn the 15 into the wall, and then look at the guys getting propped up. The 89 catching air.
Oh, the 44 just obliterated the 15 at the end. Shot for a hole that wasn't there. How about this? Watch this impact here. 89 gets up underneath, and he gets drilled by the 87 of Richard Hines.
Yeah, and Richard Hines is saying that he just looked away at something else on his screen for a moment, just I think was checking fuel or something on his black box. So you don't really expect something to be happening down the middle of the back straightaway, and unfortunately something did and just absolutely destroyed the 89.
Yeah, the 15 locked up to try to avoid spinning, where it all goes wrong, and then just impacts the back and sends him airborne. And then this is the impact we're watching. So the 15 slides to the inside here, and watch the 44 diving for the only hole on the racetrack that exists, and is just hoping and praying that he can beat the 15, but he gets a little loose trying to hang on to it, and he's just going to get the side of the 15 right here and just absolutely crushes the driver's side impact there. That's a big hit. Right on board the 15.
Lost a lot of good cars in that impact, or in that wreck in general. So here's to see what their timing list is looking like. I imagine it's going to be big considering the heavy hits we saw.
Here's the 32 on board. Slightest touch.
We saw that be a big problem at California, and even across a lot of tracks in general this season. But it's going to rear its ugly head again here at Atlanta.
Here's Michael Goodman's on board, sees the wreck happening, dives for the hole, and thinks he's going to make it. Not quite. Oh, man. Really didn't go too great for him there. So that car going to get repaired in the pits. But with all that, we've seen pit stops happen while that was going on. And Nick Delicato is back in the lead, but look who's right behind him.
Yeah, I'm actually amazed by that. No real trickery down on pit road. Gruber just had a faster stop than pretty much everyone else in the top 10. And of course he does. Yeah. Even though it's completely randomly generated, of course he ends up with the fastest pit stop, but that puts him all the way up in the second. Again, not exactly the lead, but that pressure, it's going to start mounting, I imagine, for the 51.
I'm just, we've had two pretty gnarly looking wrecks so far, and that just goes to tell you how quickly things can go wrong. But now that the 54 is out in front of the rest of the field, the chances that he gets caught up in something like that have just gone away significantly. You can kind of control your own destiny more out front. So do you think we're kind of going to hit a green flag run here, or do you think we're still due for a handful of incidents before this race is over?
I have to imagine we're going to be due for a green flag run. You can see there's not too many cars pacing behind the pace car, because a lot of them are down on pit road getting repairs. So with just, due to the lack of cars on the track, I feel like we're going to more likely than not see a green flag run. And I'm not sure if a long green flag run would play into the hands of 51 or the 54.
I would say, based on Rockingham a few weeks ago, I would put that in the 51's hands. But we've seen Grunberg. Didn't he, when he won the Cup Series race here last year? Pretty sure he won by a fairly significant margin by lapping almost the entire field with a one green flag run.
Yeah.
I can't see why that would play against him. So with 2 laps here to the green flag, we're going to step away for just a minute. We'll be right back with a restart. 3-Wide Racing League Grand National Division. Hang tight.
For those who competed decades ago, speeding down highways, through towns, country roads. For those who sat watching on the sides of the street, who found solace in chaos and thunderous speed. Even for those who grew up without the sights and the sounds, and live without race cars shaking the ground. Who don't understand why racing appeals to our fascination, wonder, and the way that we feel. A purpose-built place to camp and spend time with friends, watching racing together until darkness descends. Though no longer do the streets rumble and roar, there's a place just for this, a park to explore.
A road racing circuit before the assault. The 4 twisting, beautiful miles at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. For 6 brutal, ear-shattering hours, its serenity will be violated by the raw power of screaming racing machines. It's the famed end-of-season endurance classic, the Road America 500. The specially constructed race circuit at Elkhart Lake at normal speed is a scenic 4-mile drive through fall-tinted Wisconsin countryside.
Hidden by forests near Elkhart Lake, not a path nor a trail, but a road meant to race. In a town too quiet, the refuge we seek, Road America, the racetrack, the National Park of Speed.
Green flag back in the air here at Atlanta Motor Speedway for the 3-Wide Racing League Grand National Division. After our second caution of the night, we're back underway, and Delicato and Grunberg, the championship leaders, rumbling down into turn number 1, and now it is a head-to-head battle for the championship in 2020.
Yeah, they're separated by quite a bit before during this race, but now on lap 33, they're trailing one another. And Grunberg, again, this guy, he's going to have pretty much this race in his hands, really to toy with the 51 here. Again, as they run, Delgado still poised to win the championship, but I imagine Grunberg going to try to change that here as he might try to get into the front here.
Here we go. Matt Grunberg has won a bunch of races. He's won pretty much every kind of thing there is to win at 3-Wide, and usually in dominant fashion, but Nick Delicato has been quietly running well enough to have a chance at the championship tonight. We thought it was all going away at Richmond Raceway a few weeks ago when Delicato crashed himself down in turn number 1, but now the battle is on for the race lead, and behind them a big stack up of cars off into turn number 3, but all still nose to tail.
Yeah, mostly spread out past back them. You see a little bit of a race for third going on as well as we look at Zielinski, Clark, and James Miller. All 3 really fast cars too. The 2 guys up front to win the race. I think one of these 3 can definitely get. See Miller trying to throw it up the inside, but no hole to go.
Yeah, that Miller car is the one I'm watching. I think he's got a legitimate chance at winning. For the race lead, though, it's Delicato by a 10th over Matt Grunberg. You see the Hornet's Nest behind him. They're trying to run away from it all.
This this is Delgado pushing, and he doesn't want to push right now, but he's got to, again, he has his hand forced by Grunberg in the 54. He knows that he can't let Grunberg get an extra bonus point. That's not what he needs, so he has to try to keep the 54 in behind, and Grunberg, he's trying to do everything he can to get himself to the front.
And these guys have raced each other clean all year long, so I don't see why the 51 would throw a block or why the 54 would run into the back of him, but they might have to here. He leaves the lane open. Here comes the 54 to the inside of the back straightaway at Atlanta. Into turn number 3. If the 54 leads the lap, and Delicado's going to have to get really creative to keep that 54 behind him for the rest of the race. Door to door at the exit of turn number 4. Drag race to the start-finish line, and Delicado will have the run this time and deny Matt a lap lead, but I don't think it's going to last for too long.
Yeah, no, Delicado got pretty tight out of turn 2. That's why you saw Grunberg able to get that run out of turn 2, and on the back straighter, you're going to see him do something pretty similar. Not as much this time, Delicado got a pretty decent exit.
Now back into line here.
James Miller is now starting to approach this battle here. It's about to be almost a 3-way battle for first place.
There he is in the background of the shot, and Delicado has led every lap, well, not every lap so far, but a big portion of them, 20 of 37. If he leads to kind of the mid-60s, he's going to be 67. He's going to have to go a little bit past that, though, because he hasn't led about 15 laps today. But if he can lead to lap 75 or so, 78? Am I wrong?
Yeah.
Do the math. Tell me what the situation is.
It'll be a little bit less because, again, he's more worried about Grunberg not getting that point for most laps.
Right.
He would need a little bit less than that, but still he wants to try to aim at around 60 laps led. I think that'll definitely get him that bonus point.
Yeah, so as long as the 54 doesn't get it, it really doesn't matter what the 51 does. So 54 now has the 0-9 to deal with at the exit of turn 2, and you mentioned James Miller being in the fight, and he certainly is.
I'm curious what he's going to do here, because again, if you want to be a team player, I can't imagine he's going to try to make a pass in the court. We'll see what happens here. I thought I saw a little bit of a wiggle from Delicado.
For second, seems like they're getting a little bit racy here, and here comes Miller with a look up the inside, tucks back in line. Hines, Sims, and Corey Lindsay officially retired out of the last race of the season. Crash damage for them. Ethan Reasoner on forward, still in the race.
And props to him with a... actually, that car is pretty fixed up, all things considered. So I think he's got a little bit of damage in the left rear as you see these guys side by side down the back straightaway into turn 3.
Yeah, well, Race Clark got in the fence off into turn number 3, but Nick and Delicado took a hard left at the exit of turn 2 to try to keep the 54 behind him. But now the 54 is going to cross him up at quarter exit. Drag race to the start finish line. Can Grunberg get there? Not quite. 51 still leads that lap.
He's got a really good run there side by side into turn 1, and there you see Grunberg finally able to get
Not quite. He's not clear. Still there, side by side for the lead. The 51 and 54 battling for the championship and the lead down the back straight at Atlanta. Pulling even is the 51. He needs to keep this 54 behind him. Into turn 3, though. Grunberg has the nose ahead. Chop by the 51. Going to try to drive right back around him, and he will for the time being.
Wow, some great driving from Delicado. He's actually going to clear himself off of turn 4 with that really good run. And you can see these guys are racing like it's the last lap again because of what's at stake. It's only lap 42, but a lot on the line.
For the 51, it's so important that the 54 does not lead a lap because that extra point is going to make his job a lot more difficult come the end of the race. So he has to keep that highlighter yellow machine behind him. Good thing is it's easy to see.
Yeah, it's definitely a good thing too. And I think he's kind of hoping too that James Miller becomes a factor, but obviously we see Miller, he's been sitting like a duck. He doesn't want to get involved in this. He wants to help his teammate out.
He's getting kind of ganged up on here for the top spot. And, nobody else around him to help him out, so he's all on his own. And he's certainly feeling the pressure right now. It's very difficult to save your equipment when you have somebody this close behind you.
That's the big thing too, is like, you know, what is this going to do? These guys, all three of them really are racing really hard for the lead, and we've seen in Delicado, he likes to save his tires and do that, but he hasn't been doing that. He's been pushing really hard. If this does go green for a while, I would be kind of concerned for both these guys.
And how much control does Grunberg have over Delicado, not necessarily on the racetrack, but in the mind? The distraction that Grunberg is providing, Nick, is probably worth more than the track position itself.
Yeah, absolutely. He's essentially like a puppeteer, and And with Indelicato being the puppy here, because again, when it comes down to it, even with Indelicato defending like this, he's got to hope that at some point Groomer doesn't come down either early to try to get out ahead, do a little bit of an undercut, or do an overcut and stay on the lead a lap. So for Indelicato, I can't imagine how much stuff is going through his head, and he's got to do his best to try to keep that all out and just focus on driving.
Well, I think something that the 51 learned very quickly is that defending on the high side really isn't too bad. If you can just keep any overlap, you can pinch the guy down and hang on. But that is assuming that Grunberg isn't going to run him up the racetrack, which we haven't seen yet. Oh, the 0-9 in the fence hard behind him.
They really are. Lost a lot of momentum. He's going to drop out of the battle for the lead for now. Sam Close is trying to catch back up to him from 4th place.
Now, this is a 2-horse race, and Grunberg, I'm sure, wasn't feeling any pressure from James Miller because he knew he'd work together. But now with him gone, he's losing a wingman. So the 51 and 54 can race each other straight up now. Really close to the wall on corner exit for the leaders.
And still one of the closer battles on track. A little more of the other drivers spread out. Those guys still nose to tail. And it's amazing how close they've been able to run with each other this entire run. I think the gap is separated past 0.3 of a second the entire run.
That's sort of the beauty of this car, is you're able to do that. Here's for 6, there's Velez and Klooster, who's battling for a spot. Move the 48 up to P6. The 94 back to 7th. Race Clark right there. You saw him scrape the wall a few laps ago. He's dropped all the way down to 8th. And James Miller trying to launch an assault back up to 2nd place Grunberg, but he's dropped about a second off and has Sam Close behind him now.
Yeah, I'm looking at that car. Doesn't look like he really picked up any right side damage after hitting the wall, which I'm extremely surprised about. But as you're saying, just trying to catch back up to the leaders is going to be pretty hard, because I imagine he pushed pretty hard to kind of keep up with them. He's got to do even harder now to try to catch back up and make up that 1 second gap.
All right, so I think now it's advantage 51. Now that we've gotten a few laps into the run, the good tires have burned off of both these cars. The 51 can settle into where he's comfortable, which is saving tire and saving that car for the length of the run. That's what won him the race at Rockingham. And how Matt Grunberg essentially lost that race was starting out back and having the 51 drive away from him. But I think they're going to pace each other pretty equally now until the next pit stop. But when's that going to be? We're in about 20 laps since the last stop.
Yeah, I'm trying to check that right now, but and especially as we're talking about, pacing yourself too. For Indelicato, as you're saying, you can kind of see too that Grunberg stopped being aggressive. I think, the good, like you're saying, good is gone from the tires. So Indelicato, all he has to do is just run just a little bit faster than Grunberg. He doesn't need to force the issue here.
And he is slowly pulling away. It was about 200s quicker last time by.
So these guys are looking at running about 62 laps on fuel for this run. And last time we had pit stops, that was around lap 30.
They can run this out on one more tank of fuel.
Yeah, big question is, well, you need the fuel. Can the tires last that long?
Well, for Indelicato, I think the only thing you're going to have to worry about is overcut here. We've only gone 20 laps, and we've already lost 1.5 seconds of pace. I think the strategy to win this race for Indelicato is to stay out as long as possible. I know the 54 is right behind him, but I think you want to be advantageous with your tires. We saw that strategy work great in the Cup cars at Auto Club Speedway a couple nights ago in the Outsider Racing League. So I think the strategy for Nick is to overcut. For the 54, I just follow what the 51's doing. I think the 54 is quicker on the short run, and I think with the properly done pit stop sequence, he can get right back by him.
So these guys trailing one another. The championship 2 up, running 1 and 2. It's just honestly amazing how it works out with these guys. So close to the championship, they're fighting up for the championship and fighting it up here for the win of the race as well.
It's like real life every time. It's like magic, the way that NASCAR does their Final Four championship. It's almost amazing how the Final Four always end up running 1 through 4 to conspiracy-like levels, honestly.
Yeah, they're never running, 15th, 20th, 25th or something like that in midfield.
No. You don't get there by accident. Ethan Riesener has hit pit lane. He's 6 laps down, going to drop into the pits. As Indelicato and Grunberg still run nose to tail. 52 laps into this race.
Yeah, actually for Ethan Riesener, I think he's going to have to retire because we haven't really talked about the 6 and 11 rule. In fact, you got after 6 laps on a bigger oval, you got to pull it and retire it. So Ethan Reed's going to drop out. It was 13 cars still running in the race.
I tell you, any breathing room Indelicato had a couple laps ago is essentially gone. The 54 is still hounding him behind him.
Yeah, I think again, while he's still hounding him behind, I think without the freshness in the tires, I don't think he's got a lot of maneuverability to make moves like we saw earlier on. He's really forcing the issue on the 51. Speaking of which, looking at Dewar trying to fight it with Zielinski on the outside. I think Zielinski now starting to drop back.
Oh, big drive, slide job, and they're going to touch. And Zielinski's going to go up the racetrack and into the fence at the exit at 2. Is he going to slip and slide? Hang on to it in front of the 94.
He somehow saved it, and Kluster's also held his breath while he was trying to keep it off of the 97. That was a fantastic job by everyone involved.
Well, the 32 just drove through Kluster's, excuse me, the 97 is Zielinski, so he'll remember that when he comes up to him again, so I'd keep an eye out. It's the last race of the season. If you have any scores to settle, now's about the right time to do it.
Up ahead, you see James want to get really close to the wall. He was trying to get back on the 48 of Velez, who he's charged his way up into third place.
Where did he come from?
Don't know, but he's starting to mount a charge towards the front. He was actually the fastest car on track last lap through.
Started out in 7th, and we hadn't really talked about him the first 30 or 40 laps of this race. Here he is on lap 55, showing he's got a lot of strength, and again, one of the quickest cars on track.
Yeah, ran a little bit slower than leader in Indelicato, but Kai is still making up time to Grunberg. So this 48 car might be a factor that we never thought was going to be a factor this race. And how about that? Great run.
Later in the run tells me that he's saving tire better than everybody else, which is certainly interesting. Deeper behind, you see there's a couple side-by-side cars they've sorted out. There's the 06 of Jeffrey Fisher back in 10th. But Nick Indelicato stretching the lead out once again. I do think that he's stronger on the long runs tonight. That could pay dividends if we go green to the end.
Yeah, we definitely saw that pay off at Rockingham. So definitely Indelicato better on the long runs, managing his tires. Grunberg just has not been able to do so. Both these guys push pretty hard, so effectively they're kind of equal on how much they wore the tires from pushing like that. Now it's just a matter of managing what you got left for the remainder of the stint.
Yeah, equal tire situation for these drivers here. But again, Indelicato's led 40 laps. And if he leads 10 more, he will have locked the 54 out of getting that most laps led point. And he'll pick it up himself if he leads a little bit beyond. Actually, well, that would be it right there at lap 67. So Indelicato would certainly put himself in a pretty good spot to gain a point and also prevent the 54 from grabbing a point, which I would have told you, keep the 54 from leading the lap, that's impossible. But he's done it so far, Finney, and I don't think it's unthinkable.
I was amazed that he was able to keep him back in behind. I thought, Grunberg would have been able to at least get on by, maybe at the line by an inch, and then drop on back and sit in behind Indelicato and have a laugh. Well, Indelicato pretty much can't do anything else if he finishes in second. But Indelicato fought tooth and nail to keep that 54 in behind, and it paid off really well. And I'm still amazed he's been able to conserve his tire a little bit better than that 54, and now starting to slowly pull away.
And right in front of the 44, Michael Goodman, who was involved in that second caution of the night. He was about to be, he's actually still on the lead lap, but about to be one lap down. And the laps are ticking away. And for Matt Grunberg, I'm sure he's not feeling frustrated quite yet, but once that 51 locks in most laps led point, then if Grunberg leads a lap, then they're back tied in terms of coming into the night on equal footing. So that takes away an advantage that the 54 could get. Michael Goodman going a lap down now. I think it cost the 51 a bit more time than it did the 54. Dustin Dewar up to 4th place. He's on a charge as well. He's already come in a 3rd time. Everyone else is on about 30-lap-old tires. And he has been out for, well, actually, he's on the same tires everybody else is, isn't he?
Yeah, he just came in. I think he came in another lap after everyone pit. I think he came in again. I can't imagine that's really doing him a whole lot. This is, I think, just purely him saving tire. And he's now starting to climb his way through the order. I'm not quite sure if he can catch up to Velez. He's currently tracking faster than him, so we'll see.
Well, he's one of the faster cars on the racetrack right now. Not quite as quick as the two up front, but definitely quicker than Velez. And this is the highest he's run all day, so good climb for the 32. We'll see if he can catch all the way up to 3rd place Velez, who's 1 second up the road.
Yeah, Buzz got Goodman up there. I'm amazed that Goodman's car is still running. He took a massive hit. Remember, Deeth and Reason are, and he is still pretty off the pace of that car, definitely hurting. As you see, Buzz now just going to dive underneath 48, before the 44, sorry. And he will get on by.
And the damage to that car, not insignificant. I mean, it's for a whole front end of that car is destroyed. I'm shocked that there isn't some sort of steering damage on that car, considering the way that he hit the 15. I mean, that should have completely ripped the whole nose of that car off, but they got it repaired to some sort of drivable state. Like he'll pull over now and let a couple cars on through. And Delicato is only 5 laps away from clinching, or at least locking out the 54 from grabbing the most laps led. And halfway to locking Grunberg out of leading any laps today, which would mean if they were to finish as they are, Finian, that would be the 51's championship to lose.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. He still has to make sure he keeps that 54 behind him this entire run, which I am really going to find amazing on how he's going to try to pull that off. And keep that 54 from leading that lap, because once Grunberg does that, his job's kind of done. Just needs to finish in second from then on out.
Let's finish out the rest of the top 10 here. Nathan Velez in the number 48 started the night back in 7th. He's climbed up to 3rd, and this is a bit of a surprise. He didn't make any noise for the first 30 or 40 laps, but heading forward, and he's pretty much on pace with the front runners right now, Finian, as we've got Levi Zielinski hitting pit lane.
Yeah, I'm not surprised to see Zielinski come in so early. We've seen him in the past, too. Even at Rockingham, he came in pretty early after wearing out his stuff. So I think we might be due to seeing these guys come in fairly soon. But they've only been running for 36 laps on the tires, so there's still a ways to go. And that means that they're going to have to complete a pretty long stint to the end. But that fuel window is definitely opened up.
Dustin Dewar back in 4th place, the number 32, started in 5th. Another one of these drivers that has saved enough tire to start moving forward through the mid-run. He's run down Velez about half a second back, Finian. Sam Close runs 5th.
Yeah, and then moving on past that, James Miller, who we thought was going to be a pretty big factor, he kind of started to slip back. It looks like he's trying to catch back up to the 5 of Sam Close, but he's really fallen like a rock, and remember, was almost poised to fight and take the lead of this race on the last run, but he's drifted all the way back to 6th.
Race Clark won at Talladega a few weeks ago. Started up in 3rd. He got the wall a little while ago into the 3rd run of the day and has since drifted back to 7th. Not the way that his day wanted to go. He needs a little bit of work to do to get that car back up in tip-top shape.
Yeah, a little bit further on back, Jeffrey Fisher in the 06, and if I'm not mistaken, he had some major damage to his car. At least I thought he did.
I don't think he has hit anything that I saw. But
okay, maybe it was another car that I was thinking of.
Yeah.
I thought I saw his car with
Well,
all the damage.
he was the one that triggered that early incident at the exit of turn 2 by checking up the field. Real tight as the 97 swings low on corner exit to get by the 22 car. While all this was going on, we did see the 94 Klooster, who's hit pit lane. He's back out on the racetrack. This stops earlier than I would have thought in this, as we've got Miller hunting down Close now for 5th.
Yeah, I think some guys, this is kind of what we're seeing from last night. I think some guys are figuring to run the stint in half, come down pit road, get some fresh rubber, and then make up that time on the track. So interesting strategy calls here as we're just past halfway.
And Nick Delicato out up front by 0.7 of a second has locked out Matt Grunberg from grabbing the most laps led here today as we come on through the line. And this is a very important thing for Nick to grab, because if he leads the most laps and keeps the 54 from grabbing that extra point, again, that puts him in a very good spot. He's in a good position to earn max points for today, which would, again, if the 54 finishes second, that's it.
Yep.
You think Grunberg's feeling frustrated here, Finian? How do you attack this situation?
I think you have to imagine he's got something up his sleeve, but I can't imagine he's gonna not go down swinging with this. Again, you see, it's still an amazing fact he's not let a single lap today so far. Nearly all the laps belong to them and one up ahead of him. So Grunberg, again, I imagine he might just try to stay out longer than Delicato, stay out, pick up that lap lead, and immediately come down to pit road. We'll have to see. And this is where that strategy is going to come in. It's not just all about pure pace. It's about, playing. It's always chess match, really, between guys, no matter what it is, especially when it comes down to point racing.
I don't think that he's going to stay out. I think Nick Delicato's going to be the one that stays out all the way to the end of the fuel run. That would take him pretty close to the end of the race, though, so that's a little bit dangerous that you might not have enough time left to earn back time if the 54 pits. So if I'm the 51, I might wait till the 54 pits and then go another 3 or 4 laps beyond that. But once we get to lap 100, I don't think you have...
Oh! So Grunberg got a little bit loose. He got a bit of apron. Through turns 1 and 2, he saved the thing, but lost a little bit of time.
Look here. Oh yeah, loose down to the bottom, and he's going to catch the apron right there. And ooh, that was a big slide there in the 54, but he'll hang on to it. Trying to get every little bit of grip that he can, but it's cost him 1.2 seconds now. He's behind the 51.
Yeah, I could expect to see a lot of the drivers start to come down on about 10 laps time. That'll make them around halfway with the 100 laps they have remaining left in the race since we took the green flag on the restart on lap 30.
There's Race Clark in 7th, Jeffrey Fisher in 8th. Fisher coming forward, Clark dropping back.
It's kind of surprising to see Race Clark drop all the way back to 7th. I would have thought he would have been still up there racing for the lead, but has not been good on this run.
Well, ever since he got the wall, and it wasn't a significant wall hit, but I think the momentum kind of killed his run forward, and he got passed by a couple of cars, and then seemed like he burned himself up trying to get back by. So I think he could benefit from a pit stop and maybe a caution to kind of equalize everybody back out. But otherwise, he's struggling badly right now, and Jeffrey Fisher behind him trying to improve his day. We haven't really heard a lot from Jeffrey Fisher in the recent weeks. 15th to 8th is a good climb forward, but not much else to write home about today. Up front, Delicato has a stranglehold on his championship competitor. And just think back to a few weeks back at Richmond, we thought this was all over. And he's now gotten the 54 in the point where the 54's got to do something here. I mean, we thought Gruber would be able to coast to a victory. That's not the case tonight.
No, Gruberg's on the back foot as it is right now. Again, as they run, they'd be tied. That tiebreaker's going to go to Indelicato, so he's got to, again, figure out something. Again, I have to imagine he's going to just try to lead a lap because he's definitely, I think, going to be a solid shoe-in for second place. And so, that being said, the hard part is how is he going to try to get that lap leg?
Well, with the 51 leading, the only thing that the 54 can do is pit before the 51. Otherwise, 51's just going to run all the way to the end of the fuel tank to keep the 54 from leading that lap. That is assuming that he is conscious enough of the 54 situation to actively prevent him from leading a lap. But he was fighting pretty hard earlier, so I think he's clued into what the deal is.
So, and Leroy Zielinski now coming rocketly past. You can see him appear in frame with fresh rubber. He's going to blow past 51, and also Drew Eisman with a damage. I think that was the car I was thinking of with damage earlier.
Yes. Eisman did return to the track. He was out of the race earlier, but no, he didn't. He was in the whole time, wasn't he? He's just been limping around kind of all by his lonesome. Nice livery on that car. Shame to see it all torn up this early.
I'm a bit surprised in some way. I know I was the one that said that we weren't going to see another caution come out, but I would have thought we would have seen one guy loop it by now or something, just a little self-spin to bring out a yellow, but so far clean and green.
Been green for a long time. Last time we got a green flag was at 10:13 Eastern Time, which was all the way back about 40 minutes ago, just about. So it's been a little while since we've seen a caution flag here. If you want to watch live timing and scoring, simtvbroadcasting.com/timing. 7th place, Race Clark has Jeffrey Fisher behind him. That battle has sort of fizzled for now, though. Fisher unable to close that gap under 4/10.
And it's going to be really hard with the tires I was warning about there. Again, 48 laps on the run. Ooh, Gernberg into the pits.
All right, so now this is really interesting to see if the 51 is going to respond. I'd imagine got to respond pretty quick.
Yeah, if I'm in Delgado, I'm coming down right now into pit road to again just cover your bases. When they come back out again, Gernberg's not going to be in the lead, so you can use. It's only 1 lap difference for Delgado, but you can try to use that.
Here he comes. Here he comes.
Looks like he's coming in.
And we did see the 09 overshot the pit box a little bit, and Delicato pretty conservative entry there. We'll see if it was enough. The 54 is out and away. The pit stop for him this time through was a 14.3. Pretty good time on and off pit lane in 39.08 seconds. Now, for the race leader coming in, Nick Delicato, what's his time going to be? Got to nail this perfectly into the pit box.
Perfectly on mark.
And now, can he get out in 39 seconds or less? as the 54 is going to throttle up. He's into turns 3 and 4, and Delicato is out, 14.3. Here comes the 54 Grunberg, I think, and Delicato's going to have this lead, and it's not even going to be all that close, I don't think.
Yeah, I'll have to see once these guys get up to speed. Again, Grunberg's coming in with a high rate of speed here through these corners. Delicato still trying to accelerate.
Watch the blue cone,
actually.
And he's out and clear. Nick and Delicato is going to come out in front of the 54 with a lap fresher tires. Mission accomplished.
I'm actually amazed that he was able to do that because, you know, on paper, it should have been Grunberg at least out by, you know, maybe a second or so.
Well, here's the difference. On pit lane, he gained 7/10 outside of the pit box in pit lane. And 7/10 in the pit road is a lot more than 7/10 on the racetrack. When it comes down to the speed that you're traveling, it ends up. I'd rather gain time on the pit lane than on the racetrack, and Delicato did just that and kept the lead constant and actually grew it a little bit.
Yeah, how about that? So great job by Delicato just maximizing. You know what? I wonder if part of it. I was going to say, I wonder if part of it had to do with maybe having that first pit stall, but no matter what it was, and again, Delicato doing a great job on pit road where we thought this would have been shaken up in the order, but it's going to pretty much remain. So now Grunberg's really on the back foot. That's his one chance to be out in front. I'm worried about the 54. I'm starting to sweat.
Well, yeah, and now you just got to go run him down, and that's not easy. You got to be praying for a caution, but with the field this spread out, you can't count on that. So in the last 50 or so laps, and all Delicato has to do is pace himself, try not to cause a collision that could bring out a caution, and just try to run this thing out. He could walk away as a very, very underdog champion.
What a drive if he's able to do so. I mean, still, I don't want to say anything too much before we finish this race out, but in general, he's done a fantastic job in these last 4 races.
And well, winning Rockingham in the dominant way that he did, I think, was really our first clue that he was still in this for the long run.
And I can't see a few guys slowing up ahead as race car comes flying down pit road up ahead. He made a big dive to the inside. That almost was a wreck. But Delicato going to get around Kloosterhuis and just trying to work through lap traffic. And this is a bit of concern here. You got that in between where you got faster and slower traffic. This is where we could see yellow, and I think Delicato is praying that's not the case.
So coming up to 50 laps to go this time by, and Delicato in the 51 has led over 60 laps today. 54 Matt Grunberg coming into the night probably felt pretty confident about his chances.
Oh, and a little bit of word, sorry to cut you off, a little bit of word what happened to Clark, why he was so high and awkward coming to pit road. He actually blew a tire coming down onto pit road.
Back and have a look at that. His pit road entrance was pretty abrupt. Here's a look at the replay.
You can see him running really high. This is really, awkward trying to get down. He's going to just try to pull the thing down left.
He did get there. Just in time. So Delicato has cycled up to second place. One more car left to pit. That's Levi Zielinski. I don't think that he has to pit, though. Although I would imagine for tires, that would probably be more of the case.
Yeah, I think he's planning. He was cutting it off instead of running 50 laps. I think he was going to cut this into instead of 250 lap stints, he's cutting it into 30 lap stints, 30 laps about stints. So we'll see what if Zielinski's strategy pays off in any way.
There goes the leader, and Delicato through and back to the top spot. He cycles through and leaves Grunberg in the dust, 1.8 seconds back. That gap has stayed constant, but as we saw in the previous run, 51 only got better as the night went on. So I still think he's the pick to win this race. And if he does, game over. Oh, Fischer got really close to the 94 of Kloosterhuis. Have a look at this at the exit of turn number 2. This was almost the caution that the 51 didn't want to see. Have a look.
Yeah, again, fresher and older tires there. As you see Fischer come flying to the inside, and Kloosterhuis,
that was a little
really
closer
close
than I think he wanted it to be. Eisenman is on pit lane. He's in for his stop. There's the lead, 2 seconds. What an underdog underdog win this would be. I mean, we came into the season pretty much figuring that the 54 would win this championship, but that was almost the case. But Nick Delicato, who had a good start to the season, ran well at Daytona, ended up getting involved in a collision, but then went off to win, to sweep the night at Lime Rock. He's had a pretty good year, but quiet enough that we didn't really suspect him until the last couple weeks, and all of a sudden, the points gap closed, and here's the 51.
Yeah, again, what happened to Richmond, you're going to sound like a stuck record talking about it, but that put him way down in a hole that we thought he would never be able to climb out of, and yet here we are with him set to win the championship. If everything remains as is, and I'm sure he's going to hope that nothing happens for the next 40 or so laps.
All he needs is a clean racetrack, and looking from up above, that is exactly what we see. Clean racetrack, lots of open space, not a lot of battling race cars. That's a perfect condition, not only for Nick Delicato, but also for a SimTV sound surge. Let's crank it up. Race leader Nick Delicato continues to lead laps, and he is ticking them away right now. Lap 94 of 133. He's led 70 laps. Matt Grunberg, the runner-up right now in the race, the leader in the championship, 0 laps led. And if the race finishes as is, it will be a tie, and the tiebreaker will go to Nick Delicato, Finian.
Yeah, it's a fantastic run, textbook run really for the 51. He got max points at Rockingham, and he's going to be set to take max points here at Atlanta if all remains as is. And a phenomenal run. I was also, while we were doing that sound surge, I was doing a little bit of digging into the statistics for the season, including tonight. Delicato has started on pole 8 times this season. That is an amazing stat. He started almost 50% of the races he started in first position.
A really, really impressive stat for the 51. And the thing is Matt Grunberg might have gotten some of those poles, but he chose to start from the back. He sort of intentionally handicapped himself, and you have to wonder, was it worth it at the end of the season to lose this championship because of maybe because of starting at the back? It doesn't really seem to matter because the 54 always gets to the front, but maybe there were a couple races that he didn't run well, that he might have had different runs if he had started closer to the front.
Yeah, I think you've been taking the other nights out of perspective. I think even tonight too. Again, all he had to do really, he's running in second. If he had just led a lap, it would change the picture entirely. It would be in his favor for winning the championship. unfortunate.
Now,
And
now
Delicado
also,
couldn't really do anything about it.
we've mentioned several times the Richmond incident where Nick and Delicado crashed from the lead. Think if he hadn't crashed, he'd gone out and won that race, it wouldn't even be a discussion right now. He'd be so far out in front, he'd be winning this thing easily.
And the big thing why it got a lot closer and Delicado got a little bit lucky with this was back at Talladega when we had that great finish at Talladega with the race car taking the win there. Delicado was able to just navigate his way through the wreck and ended up finishing in third, while Grunberg did not have that good of a finish there. He finished all the way back in 12th place, and that's where he lost a lot of points to the 51, and that kind of brought them a lot closer back. And then obviously Rockingham happened. Great run from Delicado, did everything he needed to do there, and is doing everything he needs to get done here tonight in Atlanta.
Coming up on 33 laps to go when we hit lap number 101, and we're getting into the final stretch of this race. Pit stops should be done, and with 4.6 seconds between Delicado and Grunberg, and that gap is not closing. 51, without a caution, is looking like he's sitting pretty right now.
Yeah, extending that gap, and we were just talking about the 200 sections, that the fact that the gap has been expanding, which we kind of expected with the way Delicado's been able to run very quickly and also save his tires, which is really key at a track like this. And is just doing a phenomenal job up in the lead. And Grunberg, again, he's kind of hoping that a caution comes out. That's, I think, his only saving grace.
And in the past, in different years, in different cars, and different championships, no one was able to beat Matt Grunberg on the long runs. And now there's one driver that is capable of that, and he's taking it to him. And it's different than to just go out there and be fast. It's hard to, there's a lot of drivers that can be fast. To be fast for a long period of time is a totally different discussion. Think back to the 97 of Zielinski, who was out front earlier in this race. You see him hit pit lane now. He's actually led 3 laps, but he ran second for a little while up in front, but very quickly fell off the pace. And it's just didn't seem like that was a strategy to win. However, remember the strategy? He did the exact same thing at Rockingham and ended up finishing pretty well. So maybe this isn't all for naught.
Yeah, and even Brendan Klusner is also, as you can see him, he's just going to come on through as well. He's also going to be on similar strategy. Overshoots stall a bit.
So back up front, 5 seconds between the race leaders. There is the 51 now. There is the 54 now. 5 seconds, that is an eternity in race car terms, and with 33 laps to go. The 54 has got to be start thinking about how do I get my, how do I tickle my teammates' fingers and get them a little twitchy?
How do you make his arm itchy?
How do you make the arm itchy? Is that what the saying is? I don't know what the saying is.
I mean, I don't know. I always think of that Richmond incident. Is your arm itchy?
Well, James Miller is in no man's land, and the 06 is as well, so I don't think you'll have a lot of teammate help there in that regard. We're sort of joking about that, but you never know.
I don't think Grunberg would resort to that. No. I think if anything, he's going to take it like a man. He's driven a really good race. He's been extremely respectful. Both these drivers have to each other. No funny business between them. Just been outright, trying to outdrive one another.
And that's awesome, because we've had championships in the past that on Sim TV that didn't end with such amicable feelings. Think back to.
Caution!
Oh
Caution
no!
Down.
And. I'm not saying anything. Let's watch the replay first. Well, that changes everything. Let's go back and have a look here and exactly. Oh no. Well, here's another look at it as they came off into turn number 1. The 06 just pancakes the wall at the front straightaway and just doesn't get off, and then gonna hit it again here off into 1. This was just silly.
Yeah, no, it's just a big mistake from the 06. Again, we're not gonna try to even bother assuming
no.
that there's any funny business.
No,
or you're not gonna
that was a funny coincidence, but that was still a silly wreck. Mistake. But yeah,
that was still a big mistake from Fisher. That's not deniable. It's not often you see a driver hit the wall on the front straightaway
twice and then crash.
Yeah.
So I think Jeffrey Fisher will have somebody at his hauler, probably from the 51 crew at the end of this race. But pit lane is open, and this is now the money stop.
Yeah, indeed, it was. The last one was supposed to be that, but now they got to really make sure they don't make any mistakes now, because this could be big.
All right, pit stops underway. The 54 Grunberg will be the first one to leave the box. He's out and away. And Delicato should have no problem beating him out of the pits, and he will. But it's all going to come down to the first 2 or 3 laps after the restart. I think once the 51 gets clear and you get 10 or 15 laps under the belt, then I think it's a different story. The first 5 laps after the restart, that 54 is my pick.
Yeah, and we saw Delicato do a great job of defending from Grunberg before, but now he's going to have to do it all again. I'm sure he absolutely did not want to. I'm sure Delicato thought the job was essentially done. Did everything he needed to do and was pretty much set to ride up the last 30 laps. But man, has this caution thrown a wrench into things.
I was looking around to see if we got anybody to talk to. I really don't want to talk to the championship drivers because I don't want to be in their way. I do want to talk to James Miller, though, Finney. Can we pull him in here and have a little chat?
Sure, if we can. And there you go.
Hey, James, it's Kyle from SimTV. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Hey, man, we won't bother you for too long because I know you got something to focus on here in a little bit. But you're going to be restarting in 4th, right behind Dustin Dewar, and 2 guys going for the championship here. Well, the caution changed a lot of things. What's the plan here for the restart?
Pretty simple. Just, keep the tires under to make it to the end, but definitely drive to the front and win this damn thing.
So when we look at the 2 leaders, in Delicato and Grunberg, coming into the night, the 54 was leading the points. The 51 has done everything right. But now with the caution, it's going to be a head-to-head battle. Is there any team orders here in the last 20 or 30 laps? Or are you going to leave space for the 54, or are you going for the win?
No, pretty much just going for the win. Just don't wreck Matt for sure. But definitely could be something between the 2 that, a big incident that might help us out here too. But I never know. Might have to give them some space depending on how they start racing here. But no, just kind of in our own races here, just each with the same goal of winning it.
All right, we're going to let you get back to work, James. Good luck out there. We'll talk to you later.
All right, thank you guys.
And how are Dustin Dewar sitting up in 3rd place? You're talking about the run he had a really good run earlier in the race. He's also, I think, quietly running in 3rd for a majority of that last run, and this caution's gotten him a good chance of getting back up here. He has a chance to now flex his muscles.
Well, he'll be starting right in behind the race leader, which I think will be very, very important come the restart. So we'll have 2 laps left to the restart here. We're going to take a very quick break. We're not going to cut from you, though. You get to watch the cars go around the track. We're just going to take a quick break. Back for the restart in a moment. Back at the 3-Wide Racing League Grand National Division, the final race of 2020. We're down to the final 25 laps worth of racing. At the front of the field, the 2 drivers that have been the most dominant forces all season long, the 51 of Nick Delicato and the 54 of Matt Grunberg. The 51 was in position to win this race easily by 5 seconds after completely dominating and leading pretty much every lap that mattered tonight. But now he's got his championship foe lined up on the outside. It's basically whoever wins this race wins the championship, Finian.
Yeah, pretty much so. I think these guys are in a completely different world compared to most of the other guys behind them. The 32 or the 09 of Dewar and Miller, respectively, have got a shot in case these 2 guys get tangled up. But I think as it stands, they can definitely these two guys are going to be the ones more likely than not to take home the checkered flag. And yeah, I'm really interested in seeing here. And Delgado, I would think he already had his work cut out for him. He did a really good job, and now he's got to work for it again to try to take home this championship.
Pace car is going to peel off. It'll leave us with just about 25 laps to go here at Atlanta. Off is the pace car, and Delicado's got the inside line. Green flag back in the air. Teammates aligned on the outside lane, but they don't get going. Now they're hooked together, and Delicado leads the way down towards turn number 1. Grunberg bails on the teammate's nose, dives for the apron into turn number 1, but Nick is free and clear as they head into the first corner.
And I'm curious if Grunberg learned anything from the last time these two guys are fighting with one another. Did he learn anything they could try to apply? If you want to try it again, just get that lap led.
Matt is there on the rear bumper. All he needs to do is lead a lap, and then he can finish exactly where he is and win the championship. But if he leads a lap fitting, I think it's game over. I think Nick Delicado knows that. He needs to keep that 54 behind him. He did a good job earlier. He's going to have to do it all over again. No more cautions. He's praying for no more cautions. Don't give the 54 another chance. Out of turn number 2. Nose to tail.
As much as he can. If he can get a solid run into these corners, it'll help him out a lot on entry.
At less than a tenth of a second, the 54 is there. He's so strong right after a restart. He's got a teammate lined up behind him. But we've heard James Miller say that he'd be willing to pass his teammate to win the race. I don't buy that for 1 minute or 1 second. I think the 09 is going to help the 54 win at any cost possible. Right to the rear bumper is the 54.
I don't think Miller's going to get past.
Oh, they're almost in the wall. Holy cow.
Delicado really pushing the issue here, trying to stay ahead of Grunberg like we saw the last one. Again, he has to really make sure now, though, while he's got to drive fast.
Oh, he's on the apron! He's on the apron! Big slide for the 54. That was almost disaster for the championship leader as they came out of turn number 4.
Yeah, I think he might have actually gotten just a slight bump from Miller in behind as they all got really close together. So that was almost a major incident.
Now, here's another look at it as they came through turn number 3 and 4. It was maybe the slightest of touches. He got right in behind the 51 and then watched the 09 in behind. I'm not sure that there was a touch. It was very close. I'm not sure if they touched, but it was close enough for their comfort, I think. Oh, big slide!
He's going to go flying up the hill, and here comes Miller up the inside. A big mistake for Grunberg where it mount counts the most.
That was a huge, huge mistake as they came out in turn number 4 that time. And that's been the trouble spot. Let's have another look here. As he came on through, he grabbed the apron and slid up the racetrack finish. A huge mistake that might cost him a chance at a championship.
Yeah, Miller went past him. He took the opportunity, and now I'm curious if Miller's going to be willing to give that spot back up and give Grunberg another chance. Because I would say it's honestly kind of over at this point.
Yeah, with 20 laps to go, this time by Nick Delicado. When the caution came out, he probably was frustrated inside the car, thought the chance to win this was maybe gone, but he has done everything that he's needed to do and has pushed the 54 into a corner. And all Grunberg has to do now is just drive up there and get second back and then go get first back, because at some point the 54 needs to lead this race, even if it's only for a lap.
Yeah, that's all he needs, just that one lap left, and he can sit in second place to his heart's content. That being said, for Delicado, the job's not done yet, because Miller, he's pushing to get the win, and Delicado, at the very least, he needs to win this race.
Yeah, remember that if the 54 finishes second and the 51 finishes first, that's not the 51 beating Matt Grunberg. They tie that way. However, the 51 will win the tiebreaker. So effectively, right as it stands, Miller would kind of be that gap and leave the 1 point differential. However, the 09 has caught the 51. And this could throw a big wrench into things too.
I'm curious to see how aggressive Miller's going to be. We saw Grunberg and got to be very respectful to one another. Miller's been pretty respectful too, but I'm curious again, how badly does that 09 want to go to victory lane?
Well, the 51 has a spot. He's going to hang on to it now. And you have to wonder if the 51 is just trying to save a little bit of tire so he'll have something left to drive away with at the end like he did the previous couple runs. He's got to last about 9 minutes out in front with 18 laps to go. Nose to tail.
Really tough battle. Now we saw Grunberg make a mistake, and Delicado can't afford to make the same mistake. If he does that, then it's all over for him. I see Grunberg now getting to the back of his teammate, having a look on the outside.
You saw him drift up a little bit at the exit of the corner, trying to open up the exits and carry some more speed. That's brought him back to his teammate, but his teammate's stuck in behind the 51, and I'm not sure if anybody's willing to force the issue. That was very tight.
Oh man, Gruber, he's running really aggressive trying to make up time, but it's kind of hurting him now. He lost a little bit of time there after hitting the apron between 1 and 2.
Just trying to find every little bit of speed he can. I'm telling you, Miller is there, and with a little bit of a lunge, he could easily push the 51 up out of the way, and he's got a little bit of overlap as they cross the line, but tucks back in for turn number 1. Behind him, a great fight for 4th, Dewar, Close, and Race Clark all together.
On the outside, Miller gonna go to the outside of the 51, try to have a look at a turn 2. Doesn't look like it's gonna be enough. He's gonna get into the wall.
Man! Almost gets in the wall. That's gonna kill the momentum, and here comes the 54. That was as close as Miller had. If he was able to carry that overlap onto the back straight, Finian, he would have had that lead.
Yeah, we've seen on a few different occasions Miller get really tight out of turn 2, and you saw it right there as he was pushing the issue. Now he's got to work back up to the 51, but man, I'm sure Indelicato was scared there for a moment.
Into turn 1, the 54, right on the bumper of the 09. But they are losing ground now. That time through, they were a 10th and a half off the race leader of Indelicato. 15 laps to go, and Indelicato has done everything he needs to do. The only people that can change the outcome are the 2 behind him.
Starting to see Nick stretch that gap out now, which is kind of around the same point we saw in the last run. And he's just kind of hoping now nothing else happens, no more funny business. He's just going to try to drive away now while he's got a gap.
Do we have stats on the last time Matt Grunberg did not lead a lap in a race?
I can try to find that out now, yeah.
Because I feel like this is a more rare occurrence than we think it is. No laps led today so far.
Well, okay, so he looks like, actually, hang on 1 second, you just readjust something. And he didn't lead a lap at Talladega. Unless you want to count it actual racetracks.
Actual, not fake racetracks, in the words of Kyle Busch.
Alright, I think it's also safe to throw off road courses as well. We want to count the last oval that's not a super speedway. That will be Bristol all the way back in March.
So it's been, what, 4 months since the 54 has not let a lap at something other than a road course or a super speedway? That is really, really insane to me. So it's been since March that he has not led a lap at a speedway. And this might be the first one in that 4 months time. We basically started the season back then.
Yeah.
So pretty much every speedway race this year, he has led a lap. But with 12 laps to go, it's a big fat 0 next to that category for the 54 today. And that is an important category that would have made this position perfectly acceptable right now.
Absolutely. And he's just trying to fight past Miller here. And I'm curious if he's, frustrated with Miller at the moment, or he's just kind of accepted the fact that he made a mistake and put himself in this spot.
I don't think he had the pace to run the 51 down either way. I think once he made the mistake, it was game over, Finian. I mean, Nick Indelicato has been faster on every long run today. I don't think that the 54 would have had the pace regardless, but now the 09 opening up the inside lane. And with 10 laps to go, it's half a second. Grunberg's going to have to find a whole lot of pace, though.
Yeah, they're going to be slowing each other down here as they go side by side. I'm curious if Miller's going to force the issue here for second place to let Grunberg have it.
I think he's going to let him have it. Like he said earlier, he lifted. When we asked him in the interview if he was going to race the 54 or let him go, he said race him, and I just said no way. I mean, I'm sorry, but you're not going to do that. When it's this close, you're going to let the guys race it straight up. The problem is, look at Dustin Dewar. He's back into the group now.
Yeah, that 32, he's got no lead. He doesn't care. He just wants to finish up as high as he can. He's these 2 guys right ahead of him, and he's got some pretty decent pace in that 32 machine.
Going to try 10 laps to go at Atlanta Motor Speedway, the site of the traditional NASCAR season finale. And it was a foray back into tradition for 3 Wide Racing League this season, transitioning from the Cup Series car to the National Series format with a lower power, lower downforce vehicle, and it has proven to be a very entertaining car to race. All season long, slipping and sliding. A couple crashes to go with it. But 2 men have mastered it all, the 54 Matt Grunberg and the 51 in Indelicato. Grunberg, a seasoned 3-wide veteran, has won multiple championships in all different series, dozens of races. But Nick Indelicato, the newcomer this season, new to the series, new to the car. And look where he is, 8 laps to go, 8 laps away from a championship in his first season in 3-wide racing. And Grunberg Grunberg is through to second and all on his own.
Yeah, if you want to talk about adversity, for Indelicato, he's trying to come back from adversity, and all things considered, he's been pretty successful at it again. Just hoping that nothing funny happens in these last 8 laps. We thought we were good earlier, and then that surprising caution came out of nowhere. That's still the case as we see Sam Close and Race Car there side by side.
It's not over till it's over. I think that's very, very true. There's Clark and Sam Close battling for 5th. Both of them could use a top 5. Clark coming off a win at Talladega a few weeks ago. His first win in a couple of years in 3-wide competition. They're going to continue to run door-to-door down the backstretch. Notably, Matt Grunberg last time by was 0.03 of a second quicker than Indelicato.
Yeah, I think it might be too little too late at this point. That gap's pretty significant, 1.2 seconds to try to drive back up and catch 51, and I imagine Indelicato can pace himself as well. He doesn't want to make a mistake, put it in the wall late in the run.
And that time through, Indelicato was faster, so all that Grunberg gained, lost, plus some that time through. There's the 97 of Zielinski and the 94 Klustrus for position for 7th. And Miller, oh, big block into turn number 3. That was a little dicey. Let's quickly go back and check that out. Here's a run down the backstretch. See the 32 go left, left, left. So this is 09, big block, bit of a touch. I don't think this is over just yet.
No, it definitely isn't, as Miller has now lost quite a bit of time to the 54 Grunberg, so now he's just going to have to try to deal with the 32 of Dewar. And Dewar, again, he's also been one of those drivers that's been pretty decent on these longer runs as the run goes on, and now going to be pretty quick in these last few laps.
Yeah, and there's nothing that the 32 or 09 care about other than winning this race, so there's no incentive to roll over and let each other by. As the lead grows for Indelicato by 1.6 seconds over Grunberg, the battle for 3rd heating up to a flashpoint. 4 laps to go. 6 miles for Nick Indelicato. Earlier in the season, we referred to him sort of as the road course king of this series. Sweeping at Lime Rock was the first time we saw him in victory lane, and it's a really good season since then. He's only a couple laps away. Behind him, though, Dewar and Miller. 2 that could take it all away if they get together again. 3 laps to go. Lap traffic ahead to 77 Weisenman.
Yeah, I can't imagine that Drew's going to try to be a factor. He might just kind of pull it off to the side. He just wants to finish this race. And props to him. He's been driving a damaged car for a very long time.
And still on the lead lap, or at least he was. Coming to 3 miles left to go at Atlanta Motor Speedway. There'll be 1 lap until Nick Indelicato is clear of any potential cautions. 2 laps to go. For a driver that's new to the series, coming out and winning in the first season is always impressive. To beat somebody like Matt Grunberg is even more impressive. The hazards, the potential for hazards are going to be going away here in about a half a lap.
Yeah, especially too considering he's coming to this race again with more wins than in Grunberg, which we didn't think was really possible for anyone to accomplish considering how good Matt has been. But so far this season, 5 wins in Indelicato as he sees the white flag.
White flag in the air one more time around. He is clear of any potential hazards, and no caution can take it away from Nick now. Starting back at Daytona, his car was upside down in the catch fence on the final lap after a wild collision. A few weeks later in Lime Rock Park, went out and swept those races. He's picked up 3 more throughout the season, and he'll pick up an additional one as they head through 3 and 4. A rookie in the series, his first full season in 3-wide Racing League competition. He'll beat the juggernaut Matt Grunberg, and Nick Indelicato comes out at turn number 4, and Nick Indelicato is the 2020 3-wide Racing League Grand National Division champion. And with that, his 6th win of the season and a championship trophy.
What a fantastic job, too. Again, we thought not many drivers could hold a candle to Grunberg. We thought it was going to be another repeat of what we've seen before with the 54 car, but Indelicato came out of nowhere and showed that he's got as much pace, if not more pace, than the 54 Grunberg, and he proved it right here, taking on the championship.
It's not an easy thing to do, to beat Matt Grunberg. He has won everything in every car, every season. Celebration, there's even a congratulations there from one of the team members of the 54's team across the start-finish line. Celebration. In a dominant fashion, Nick Delicato is your champion, and he has shown it the past couple weeks. How about the last 2 weeks? Think back to Rockingham. Led that race almost in its entirety. Pretty much lapped everybody on the racetrack. You come to Atlanta, you'd pretty much do the same exact thing again. And in the process, he led 110 of 133 laps to pick up this championship and the trophy.
Yeah, I mean, again, in the last four races, he's won three of them, and finished third at the other one that he didn't win. So just a fantastic job. Just needed to do he just did what he needed to do at the end to make up those points. And again, it was so close. He tied with Grunberg, and again, just barely broke that tiebreaker with a few more wins to his name, and just really just showing how much pace and how much speed this 51 machine has got.
Silver, black, red, white, and blue, the colors on that Toyota Camry as he parks it at the start-finish line in celebration. Here is a look at the rest of your race results. In Delicato, the champion and the race winner, Grunberg in second, then James Miller third, Dustin Dewar fourth, and Race Clark leading the Carolina boys with Sam Close right behind him. Then it's Brandon Kluzers, Levi Zielinski, Drew Eisenman, Nathan Velez out of California finishes back in 10th. And moving on back, Brent Miller, Fisher, Goodman, Reasoner. And then the drivers that didn't finish this race, Hines, Sims, and Corey Lindsay, all out with crash damage early in the going. Some messes earlier in the race and a big crash towards the end. But at the end of it all, it was the 51 in victory lane. We're going to step away for just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere if you want to hear back from Nick and Delicato. Hang tight, we'll be right back. Welcome back live to Sim TV and the 3-Wide Racing League Grand National Division from Atlanta Motor Speedway, the season finale, the 2020 season. And coming into the night, Matt Grunberg probably felt fairly confident. Given your runs in the past seasons, the way things have gone, Matt, you were pretty much a shoo-in to win this thing, but the 51 quietly came out of nowhere tonight and absolutely dominated as he's done in past weeks. Goes out there, wins the race, and just nips you the championship over a tiebreaker, but you got to be pretty proud how the season went regardless.
We were in a good position there. We just needed to lead one lap, and Nick did everything that he had to do tonight, and I didn't do anything I needed to do. So he drove a perfect race. I did not. So that's what it comes down to. Maybe I could have qualified, but I didn't want to qualify one race out of the year. Just here for fun. Congrats to Nick. He ran a great season, and he was perfect tonight. Just a few things that didn't go our way. I tried to get him on the pit stop there and undercut him, but Nathan ended up pitting right as soon as we were coming out, and I had to slow up for him. So didn't get to lead a lap there, and then Jeffrey brought out the caution there, and I didn't want to beat Nick on that because I didn't want to beat him just because one of my teammates brought out a caution. So it was a good season, and we'll come back next season.
All right, Matt Grunberg, second in the race, second in the championship, just came up, not even 1 point short. You literally tied. It was the race wins that it came down to. Thanks, Matt, for talking to us, and we'll see you next time.
Yep, see you.
Moving on now to our race winner and our unlikely champion, Nick Delicato. Nick, coming into the season, You were battling some of the best in three-wide racing. Matt Grunberg has won multiple championships, swept both series last season, the trucks and the cup cars. You come into this year as a newcomer to the series, starts off with the upside down hanging from the catch fence at Daytona, go out to Lime Rock, win a couple races, you win a few more, and all of a sudden, here you are in victory lane and holding a championship trophy. Walk us through this crazy year that was the Three-Wide Racing League Grand National Division.
Yeah, it was crazy. First of all, I want to thank you guys for putting it on all year. You guys did a great job. Probably some of the best, commentating and content I've seen when it comes to racing in a while. But, man, I don't know. I ended up in the catch fence. I was new. I didn't want to, make anybody's feelings, hurt. But up and down, I either won or lost, it felt like. I had a couple races at 1.5 mile tracks like Texas and Las Vegas that I did really good at. So I was eyeing Atlanta, put myself in a hole early in the chase at Richmond, and after that I just kept my head down and told myself no mistakes. After that, Rockingham, I don't know how the hell that happened, but Atlanta, I knew what I needed to do, keep them behind me all race, and I did just that.
Take me through the mindset as you approach the end of this race. You're within 30 laps of everything ending, and all of a sudden you look up and the caution lights are ablaze. What goes through your mind there after dominating a race like that and seeing it potentially all go away?
Yeah, I knew Atlanta was going to be a great track for me. I'm a huge 1.5 mile guy. Somehow won on most of the road courses this year, but at the start of the race, I let a couple people by. I wanted to save tire. I knew tire was huge, so I saved and pulled on Grunberg later in a run after we had the first 2 cautions. And once I jumped in, I didn't really jump in, but I saw him pit, so I pit right after that, so he didn't get a jump on me. And stayed ahead, pulled away, and then that caution came out. I was like, oh boy. I knew I was going to pit no matter what, pitted, and I had to battle him and James for I think it was 30 laps. It was a long 30 laps, that was for sure. But I had to battle him and James, keep him behind me, and somehow save tire at the end. And I saw him made a mistake. I mean, I tried getting as close to the apron and as close to the wall as I could to see if he'd follow me in there, but somehow pulled it off there at the end, saved enough tire, and held off both of them.
Nick, congratulations. It was a phenomenal season, and honestly, I got to give you credit for making this very close. No one really won. You guys tied, and you took home the championship on a tiebreaker, which you cannot script that any better. So that is really, really impressive. Thanks for making a show for us here. It makes it easy when the racing's good on the racetrack, and we hope to see you around again because it was a blast watching you race this season.
Thank you guys a ton. Shout out to Matt for the good championship run. Shout out to everybody, USM Sport. And again, you guys, thank you guys a ton, and 3Wide for putting it on.
All right, thanks so much, Nick. Have a good rest of the weekend. Hopefully we'll see you around.
You too.
All right, that's going to do it for the interviews here tonight, Finian. Let's recap the season. It all started back at Daytona. It was a wild year, though. Looking back, it's been a long time since I've looked at what our schedule has looked like, but we started all the way back at the beginning of the year when everyone was still kind of reeling from the whole COVID crisis. And it's been a while since we've kind of thought about how far the world has come and how far we've come since the month of March. Since then, we've kind of dove into professional broadcasting with GT World Challenge America. We've done some more grid life stuff, but as we head into the summertime months, as we're kind of into the midst of it right now, there's lots more to come on SimTV, and that includes more 3Wide content with the start of their Cold Heart Art series, which is going to be using the 87 stock car here in the coming weeks.
Yeah, those things are honestly a blast to drive. I honestly have never had more fun driving a stock car than with driving the 87 cars. It just feels so alive to drive, especially at some of the short tracks too. So I think it's going to definitely be a blast to watch these guys quite literally wrangle those things under control, because they are really hard to race, and I think that's just going to make for exciting action on SimTV.
Lots to look forward to into the coming months here. Thanks again so much to 3Wide Racing for jumping on board with us. They're one of our longest partners. They've been with us pretty much since the start, all the way back in basically March of 2018, so one of our longest running leagues. And the Cold Hard Art Cup Series, the next thing on the schedule. Look forward to it on our channel the next couple of weeks. Thanks again to Redenzo and Lazy Rocket Vinyl Produce, and we'll see you next time on SimTV on Thursday night. Another new series joining us, the Scars Porsche Super Cup Series. That'll be joining us Thursday at 9. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you on Thursday.